Found guilty. He was found guilty.
And Karmelo broke down. He was shaking. And as a mother of black male sons, what I know I learned today is I have to go tell my 21-year-old son. I have to continue to tell my son that was with me and witnessed it. You do not have rights to self-defense. Your life does not matter in 2026.
Our son deserves the same rights under the law that everyone is afforded to.
Okay, the trial has concluded and Karmelo Anthony has been found guilty of unaliving Austin Metcalf, and he has now been sentenced to 35 years in Texas State Penitentiary. Wow, that happened fast. The trial barely took a week and a half. The jury, it doesn't seem like they was even in there for 45 minutes, and they had already returned a unanimous guilty verdict. The jury completely denied Karmelo Anthony's self-defense claim. And okay, I don't think that Karmelo Anthony needed to stab this young man, Austin Metcalf. I think that was an overreaction. I think it was excessive. And I understand that Texas is a stand your ground state, but no. Although I think that both sides of this case lied and manipulated their stories, of course, because that's what you do in court. That's what you do in a court of law. So even in this moment, I don't know if we completely know what happened here, but whether or not the Metcalf brothers jumped Karmelo Anthony, or if Austin was acting aggressively and bullying Karmelo Anthony to leave this tent, or if Karmelo Anthony was being belligerent and didn't want to leave the tent because it was raining, or because he didn't want to seem like he was getting bullied by some white kids, I just don't feel like there was a point where Karmelo Anthony's life was actually in danger. You get into fist fights, right? As kids, we get into fist fights. You get jumped, right? You get jumped. But I don't think that that's just like a pass to go and stab somebody. You know, it has to be like equal or proportionate force. So if somebody punches you, you can't just turn around and shoot them and say it was self-defense. And like the complete lack of compassion for the Metcalf family is beyond me. I get it, they're a white family. That kid lost his life. The father was still peaceful. He was still forgiving. I believe that he was being sincere in regards to his self-proclaimed Christian faith. He said Jesus wanted him to forgive Karmelo Anthony. And I believe that there was some sincerity there. Now, Austin Metcalf allegedly knew Taekwondo, right? He's 230 pounds. He's an elite athlete. Like, Karmelo, at some point, like, just leave the tent and protect yourself, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, now you done effed around and found out. Now you got to go to state and you got to get a prison job for 25 cents an hour because you don't want to look like you getting bullied by some white guys. It was never that deep. We really have to do better than this. Now, I don't know who in the world were Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, because they did a terrible job. Mike Howard, Toby Shook, Bill Sirkey. I mean, y'all did a terrible job. Y'all did a piss poor job for this kid. So either y'all got bullied by the prosecution, or y'all got bought out or something, because I mean, my goodness. And it's not outrageous because Toby Shook, Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, and Bill Worski have been business partners and colleagues for multiple years. Is this not a conflict of interest? And now they're in court pretending to go against each other. Like, who in the world in the Anthony family thought it was a good idea to hire this lawyer? I'm confused.
One time he was pushed. I'm not saying that it was right, but what are you doing? How did you get this verdict? I'd want to know. My whole identity as a defense attorney would be in question, right? I'm questioning my identity right now, and I have nothing to do with this case. How could you come back like that? I would be enraged. I'm enraged right now. This is very upsetting. And then on top of it, to compound it, this dumb judge didn't allow cameras in the courtroom. What was your wisdom? What were you thinking? How are you put on a robe? Are you that much of an imbecile that you won't let cameras in the courtroom in a case like this? This is not a case. This is something different. This is something that's clearly the whole community is enraged, and you knew that before the trial started. So I mean, this is very upsetting.
Where are the Johnny Cochrans? Where are the Al Sharptons of 2026? Where are the high-powered, high-end African-American lawyers who were supposed to be representing Karmelo Anthony? Really? First of all, you completely botched the jury selection process. I mean, really? Not one black juror? Isn't it your job as a lawyer to get a possibly favorable jury for the young man? Then y'all put defendants on the stand who y'all don't even prep for trial. And you're admitting this in front of the jury, live in court, that you've barely spoken to some of your witnesses. The defendants didn't even defend Karmelo. They basically said that they felt like he took it too far. None of the witnesses that the defense put on the stand implied that Karmelo was ever in any actual danger to his life. Also, why is the prosecution, why is the state in front of the jury bragging that they had a better relationship with your own witnesses during the cross-examination? Karmelo Anthony never stood a chance in this trial. Honestly, was this a fair trial? I don't know. Right? But what we do know is that Austin Metcalf has lost his life, and now Karmelo Anthony is going to jail for the next 35 years pending parole. Also, I hate to see a black man go to jail. I would never wish jail on anybody. Well, that's not true. I know somebody who are. Anyways, but it is my belief that they took it easy on the young man. 35 years in Texas, you can parole in 17 or so, right? So let's say that Karmelo Anthony is about 18 years old right now. He can, let's say, get out of jail at maybe 38, right? That's about my age right now. He can definitely have a life again. Now, I'm from the hood in New Orleans. I've seen dudes do longer time than that and come home in their 40s, possibly 50s, like it never happened. Austin Metcalf will never have a life again. Now, lastly, I know that y'all not gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it anyways. A lot of this is Karmelo Anthony's mama fault. Just ridiculous. Listen, y'all could keep telling these kids that if somebody hits you, hit them back. Y'all sending them to school with this mindset. Karmelo Anthony obviously had this mindset, right? This woman, Karmelo Anthony's mother, wasn't the least bit sympathetic that her son had taken somebody's life. I'm confused. She in the press conference hooping and hollering, talking about when the evidence come out, everybody's going to look at this differently. There was no evidence that could come out to make anybody believe that Karmelo Anthony did not unalive that other child. Karmelo Anthony was never the victim here. How about showing some compassion, possibly some empathy? Despite whatever happened, this woman was supposed to get in the press conference, drop a tear, publicly apologize to that family, even if it was her son who was acting in self-defense. And I knew when they humiliated Austin Metcalf's father at the press conference, had the police escort him out, that it was going to be an issue. Because I really do believe that he might have been coming there to pray with that family and to make amends and to calm the racial tensions. And y'all embarrassed that man. I would imagine that maybe some conservative white Christian Americans could have possibly took offense to that. And some of what the judge and the jury is doing like sentencing, quote unquote, punishment phase sentencing, is they're looking for signs of remorse. Karmelo Anthony never seemed remorseful. I mean, of course, he broke down and cried once he got the sentence of 35 years. But like, even if he had to take someone's life to protect himself, he was supposed to say something like he never wanted to hurt that kid. You know, he never wanted to hurt anybody. He felt like his life was in danger. He felt like he had no choice. Karmelo Anthony didn't even take the stand. How you don't take the stand to defend yourself in a self-defense case? I mean, this is beyond me. But they knew better than that, because if Karmelo Anthony would have got on that stand, the state would have had the opportunity to cross-examine him, and they would have examined the life out of that kid. That kid would have been serving life in jail. They was already trying to get him, hey, maybe y'all can consider manslaughter instead of, listen, that kid would have been serving life in jail. Also, the state never even brought Hunter Metcalf in the courtroom during the trial. And it's because they knew if the jury would have seen that big stocky boy, they might have considered that possibly, right, him and his brother could have maybe been a significant threat to Karmelo's life. But once again, this is chess, not checkers. This is the game of court, the court of law. It's not about the truth. It's about what's admissible and the witness testimony and ultimately the opinions of the jurors. And not one of them even gave it a second thought that Karmelo was acting in self-defense. So do I think that Karmelo Anthony got a fair trial? No. He is an African-American kid who unalived a white kid in Frisco, Texas, and had an over-politicized, racially motivated trial in McKinney, Texas. But neither did Austin Metcalf. Do I think that if the roles were reversed and Austin Metcalf would have stabbed Karmelo Anthony, would he have been sentenced to 35 years? Of course not. Austin Metcalf also would never have had to sit before a jury of all black individuals, because if he would have been, he would have been sentenced to life with no possibility of parole. So just an all-around tragedy. And I'm interested to know what you all think about this. Did the jury get it right? Was justice served for Austin Metcalf? Or did the legal system in Texas just violate Karmelo Anthony's rights? Did we all just witness the media lynching of a young African-American child in the year 2026? Actually, what do you all think about the sentencing? 35 years, is it enough? Is it not enough? Me personally, I thought they was about to hit the young man with 65, 70 years, possibly life in prison. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that 35 years with the possibility of parole in about 20 years is that excessive for taking the life of another young man. Now, lastly, Let's consider for a moment that now that the young man Karmelo Anthony has been sentenced and he is going into the Texas State Penitentiary system, that he is going into one of the most racially charged environments on the planet, one of the most racially political systems in America. For those who do not know, there has long been a race war going on in the prison system. People who have been there know this. Karmelo Anthony is probably the face of the race war in America right now. That young man is not safe. It is not over. Hopefully, they put him into protective custody. Hopefully, he's not trying to be some tough guy and go into population. Hopefully, the black people in the unit that ultimately this young man winds up in helps to protect them. You know, the Muslims, the Bloods, or somebody, because Karmelo Anthony is going to need protection for the next couple of years. So listen, like, subscribe, and tune in again to another episode of Cancel BY.
An all white jury convicted him in 2 to 3 hours. We know that they did not prove their case. They are currently sentencing Karmelo Anthony, but we know that the Next Generation Action Network put the first $10,000 towards an appellate attorney. And we will fight Collin County like hell. I respected this process. I allowed and called for peace in this process. But Black America should be very upset about what went on today.